Hi everybody, this is Claudia, and today I am with psychotherapist Dee Gardner.
Hello.
And she's with Gardner Counseling Services, and we are talking today about narcissism. And this is a little opportunity for anybody who's interested in talking about this to get online and ask any questions that you have. Narcissism is really popular nowadays, and it seems like everybody, you sneeze and somebody's been affected by someone who's a narcissist or knows somebody or something like that. Hi everyone. Hi Cheryl. Hi Diana.
Hello.
And so we just kind of thought, as Dee and I were talking about it, given what we do, we just thought that we would kind of do this live stream to allow people to really ask an actual psychotherapist what is narcissism, what it really is, what it isn't, you know, if you're being accused or abused by these people, or maybe you are one of these people, or maybe you have some traits, you know, so that you can have that that understanding and awareness. So we're going to be on for a little bit longer. I think the whole live stream will be about an hour. So we're going to wait for a couple more people to come online and start before we really get into it. But I wanted to ask Dee a little bit about your background so that people can know more about you.
Okay.
I know you're a therapist, right? Well, I know, but they don't. So could you tell them a little bit about your background and how you got into this?
Okay. I'm a psychotherapist in private practice, and I'm in Houston. I have multiple locations. I work out of Katy, I work near Gardner, and I work near the Galleria area. I have done this for many years. I have an addiction background where I have worked with addicts at all various levels of care, alcoholics, drug addicts, since 2003. And I've worked inpatient, outpatient, detox, intensive outpatient, you name it. I've done all that. And I also have worked with, in an outpatient basis, I've worked with women and men that struggle with sex addiction, partners of sex addicts, the loved ones suffer tremendously from that. And in working with sex addicts and alcoholics and drug addicts, people that struggle with those problems, I've found that I start noticing some patterns. And I start noticing that the people that love these individuals were suffering. And all I would do is send them to Al-Anon. I work with them on codependency. Some might maybe love addiction. And then I start noticing a small elite few that would do very well. They would do well. They'd start speaking up. They'd come in the office and they'd say, I'm doing well. I have my voice now. I said no. I shared my boundaries. I stuck to my boundaries. And then all of a sudden they walk through the door and it's as if they're glassy-eyed and they're lost and they're like, you know, what's boundaries?
They forgot everything
it's like
they learned.
They lost everything. And I saw this pattern over and over and over and over again. And then I started hearing what I call the N-word.
Which was?
I continue to hear the N-word over and over and over again. Narcissism.
Right.
So then I start checking into that. I start looking into narcissism, and then I realized that it's what I call a beast all its own. It's its own issue. It's codependency or love addiction at a different level. So then I start pursuing learning about narcissism, and that changed everything. That was a deal changer.
Yeah, I know that as we have worked together, I've noticed that there's been a lot of, that word has come up a lot, narcissism and narcissism abuse, and that has had a lot of impact on the clients that you've sent over to me to help with hypnosis, and that it's a longer process to help them.
Yeah, it's a longer process. It might be, I'm looking more at a lifetime process.
Okay.
Because when we're working with the narcissist, the healing for a narcissist is very intense, and it's a lifetime process. Narcissist goes to the therapist. If a narcissist truly want to work on it, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later, but you're looking at therapy multiple times a week, a couple of hours every time they go.
Wow.
4 years. And
Right.
I'm beginning,
It's intense.
and I'm thinking that it would be the same thing with the person that's loving on
On
this
them.
person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, hi. Looks like there's several other people on there. Hi, Gonzalo and Yessie and Michelle. I saw you were on there. Jay, Cynthia. I'm so glad you're able to join all of us. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and feel free to ask any questions as we go along, and we'll try to answer them. Can you see if you can get on that one too?
Just get it up here.
You would go on to. Give us just a moment. We're trying to make sure that we can see both questions. Yeah. And then try right
Here.
Uh-huh. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can watch. So as you guys are posting questions, we can answer them. Hi, hi Anna. Hi Christina. Hi Andy. All right. So so we're going to go ahead and get started and start talking about what it is that narcissism is. So we'll start at the beginning. The first thing is what is narcissism? Like, what is it really? Everybody's talks about it, but what is the actual definition clinically, and then some of those traits so we can understand.
Okay. There is a clinical diagnosis, and there is a layman's type of word, narcissism. So we can call it all narcissism. There's narcissism, and then there's narcissistic personality disorder. Narcissistic personality disorder needs to meet criteria. There are 9 traits, and they need to meet criteria as a professional. I mean, we use a book. We could use the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, and we look at it as with other diagnoses like depression, schizophrenia, ADHD. We use a book for diagnosing the narcissism, and so they need to meet criteria. There's also a long test, the Narcissistic Personality Inventory, that we use in order to help diagnose a narcissist. So many people have narcissistic traits, and that's what we hear a lot. We hear a lot about these are narcissists. Oh, I'm married to a narcissist. Oh, my ex was a narcissist. My father was a narcissist.
Right. You hear that a lot.
But what's happened is we're talking about narcissistic traits, and we're talking about narcissistic patterns, and I like to call it a narcissistic style. However, those aren't necessarily narcissists unless they're actually diagnosed.
Okay.
So for the sake of the book that I'm writing, and the sake of this video, and the sake of all my videos and Claudia's videos, wherever I refer to narcissists, I'm primarily referring to the people with the narcissistic traits, which is that's a very large number of people.
Okay.
So
an actual narcissist who has been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, right? The whole full blown that meets that. How many people in the population actually meet that criteria?
About 1% or less.
Okay, so only 1% are actual narcissists, but how many have traits of narcissists?
Well,
narcissistic traits.
Maybe about everybody listening. You know somebody that might have those traits. That is very prevalent.
Okay.
This society actually promotes it.
Narcissists
do well. People with those narcissist traits do very well in this society here in America. Being an achiever, pushing, stepping over on people, and succeeding, and that gets rewarded. You get success. You know, so many narcissists are actually pretty successful. There are different types of narcissists, but there is the ones that really do meet criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. They are 99% very successful. So there are different levels of narcissism. So so I just refer to them all as narcissists, because the healing, when you're working with the one with the narcissistic personality versus the one who I call the medium range narcissist versus the low range, more like high, I call it master, medium, and low. Each one of those, the same behaviors when you're working with them and dealing with them and trying to communicate with them, it's the same strategies. So I just refer to all of them as narcissists.
Okay. So when you're So give me a couple more of those traits. Like you said that there were 9 that were for the diagnostic, but what are those traits so that people can, when people are talking about, oh, I know a narcissist, or married a narcissist, or my so-and-so parent, whatever, is a narcissist, so that they can know what that is. What are some of those traits?
Okay, one thing with them is they are always plotting. A narcissist is always plotting. They always have in their mind what they're going to do. They're always planning it. It's in our diagnosis world, we call it goal setting.
Goal setting.
So when that narcissist walks in the room, there's a part of their brain where, like, you know, they're always seeking affirmation or validation or acknowledgement, attention. So that is always on. So the narcissist is their entire waking hour, and this is an eye-opener, and it's shocking for some people that part of them is always on.
So they're always seeking attention.
They're always seeking attention. If you're in a conversation with them, the conversation is going to always turn around with them. Now, at the very beginning, that's not the case, and we'll talk about the process of the relationship, how the relationships, the path of their relationships. But at the end of the day, once you really get to know the narcissist, it always turns around them. So they need the compliments, they need the praise, they need the affirmations, they need the validation from other people. So
and how is that different than like a needy person? You know,
actually, they are extremely needy. It just doesn't manifest on the outside. On the outside, it manifests as control, as seeking power. It manifests as needing to have the power. So they're very, very needy. There's this grandiosity, there's this grandiose presentation. And what that means is that person presents themselves as bigger than they really are. They will talk about achievements over and over and over and over and over and over and over again.
So it's like, I won that, blah, 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 I got this promotion.
And every time they do it, they'll say it as if it's your first time hearing it. You may have heard about this achievement
5, 10,
20 times over the last 2 weeks. I mean, it's that much. They're constantly bragging about what they've done because they're soliciting that approval, that praise, that good job. Oh my God, that's amazing. That's what we call that fuel.
Okay.
We call that fuel, narcissistic fuel.
Okay. What's another trait that they might have?
Another trait would be, let's see, they're always plotting. They are very grandiose. They look at themselves as bigger than they really are. And a lot of times it's false. There's what we call a false self. There's this image that they portray to the world. There's something going on the inside, but they dare not let the world know that and see that. So there's this image, we call it a false self, that they demonstrate to the world. And so the world sees that part. So, and when the person doesn't get, I mentioned fuel earlier, when they don't get the attention, when they don't get the praise, when they don't get the validation, that false self changes, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and it's like, what happened? Who is this person? And so that's very consistent. So there's one person usually at home, and then there's another person in the community. And so they're usually very, very involved in community activities. They're volunteers. They give.
That way they can get the praise.
Exactly. Yeah. And so the person might appear very, very humble and giving and loving, very loving. But they got to get something back.
They want the praise. They want to say, this was the best volunteer of this organization, or the best whatever, or whatever it is. And so they want that kind of acknowledgement. But then at home, then how would they be?
At home, they may be the opposite. At home, if they are in a relationship, and a relationship is needing to have intimacy, it needs honesty, it needs vulnerability in order to develop this intimacy, this closeness, this safety, this security. A relationship needs mutual empathy. And so that's the number one thing that's missing with the narcissist. And the number one trait for a narcissist is a lack of empathy. A lack of empathy. And so
can you explain what that would be? I think empathy is one of those words that gets thrown around a lot, and empaths and all that kind of stuff. So can you, in this instance, can you help us understand what that means, that they don't have empathy?
Yes, empathy is where when someone else is, let's say there's a well, a deep well, and it's cold in that well, and someone's down in that well, and they're hurting, and they're scared, and they're cold. And so empathy is, you're at the top of that well, and you're going to crawl in there, and you're going to help them feel better. You're going to talk to them. You can feel what they feel. You can feel the coldness and the scared and the darkness, but you can crawl back out. And so empathy is where you're able to still crawl back out. So if a person's in a dark place, if they're sad, they're hurt, they're scared, they're lonely, or whatever it is, you can hear them, you can listen to them, you can let them know that you're okay. You can feel it. You can tell when someone cares. However,
give me just a second. Keep going.
And
keep
then,
going.
however, you can crawl back out, and the person might come right back out with you, or they may stay there in that place. That's what empathy looks like. A narcissist doesn't have the ability to do that. They do not. And when you're talking to that person, if you're hurting, especially if you're in a close relationship and you're talking to that person, you can tell. You know that this person isn't in there with you. You know that they're not feeling what you feel. Matter of fact, if you're hurting, they're going to turn it back around and make it about them. Before you know it, you're like, how did we get here? Now we're apologizing. Well, that's okay. Well, they may say something like, I don't see why you would think something like that. Why would you feel like that? That doesn't make sense. Or they may verbally say things, or you're just so sensitive. You're just too sensitive. And even though you might say, well, when you did this and you did that, that hurt me, the response you might get is, you're just so sensitive, or you selfish, or you something else. So they will put you down rather than giving you empathy. So I can see how you feel like that. I can see why that would be so upsetting, or even just listening.
So let's say somebody, you interact with a person who has these traits, and they say, they said something that just hurts your feelings, and you go to them and you say, that what you just said really hurt my feelings. It made me feel, whatever. It made me feel bad about myself. Right. And then their response, instead of saying, oh, I didn't know that, or I'm sorry about that, or something like that, would be, why are you so sensitive?
Exactly. Why are you so sensitive? Or why are you, here you go again. I thought that was behind us. When the address has not been addressed, it hasn't been resolved, the issue hasn't been resolved, the issue isn't closed, because this happens over and over again. Okay. So it keeps coming up.
They keep saying the mean thing or something. Because they just said, oh, you're too sensitive, and then they say it again.
They may call your name, they may put you down, or right in the middle of the conversation, they may just hang up, or they'll just walk away. They'll just get off the phone, or they'll just interrupt you and change the topic and start talking about something else. So all of those are ways where their person is not showing empathy. They're not in there with you. You know it, and you feel it. And it hurts.
Okay. Okay. Is there another, I wasn't counting all the traits that we were going over. Yeah. Is there another one? I think there's another one. Right.
Well, that's power and control. It's always about power and control. They're always comparing themselves to other people. So so whenever the person is in the room, it is very, very important that they have the power and that they have the control. Matter of fact, some of the strategies are for helping the person feel like they have power, they have control, if you're going to be in some sort of relationship with them. So that's another one.
Okay, so they're always planning. So one of them was they're always planning, which, in our society is goal setting, but they're always planning. The other thing is that they're always seeking attention and bragging, right? And then this other thing is they're always trying to be in control and have the power. So those are...
And they lack empathy.
Number
one thing is they lack empathy.
Okay, so that was really the main thing.
They have trouble stepping in. You know how you say, see this from my perspective, why don't you step in my shoes, listen to what I'm saying. If someone did that, wouldn't you feel like that? Well, they don't have the ability to do that. Okay. So we're trying to elicit empathy when we do that. Well, just listen. If this happened, that, wouldn't you feel like that if someone did that?
And they just don't know.
They do not.
So, and they change the subject by saying, "Why are you being sensitive?" or
some sort
something
of
else.
other. You're like that all the time. There you go yelling again, or there you go crying again, or there you go complaining again.
Well, okay.
Yes.
So people who deal with narcissists end up being called, you and I have talked about this, how are experiencing narcissistic abuse.
Right.
Right. So what do the narcissist abuse victims, what do they look like? You know?
Well, one of the number one differentiators from, you have codependency and then you have narcissistic abuse. Codependency is the person that they put others before themselves. They will sacrifice their own needs for someone else. As long as everybody else is okay, they will take care of other people. And then they might get upset and say, nobody appreciates me. Someone may have an issue and they jump in there and try to fix the issue or solve the issue or have the answer. And then if it doesn't work, or if the person doesn't take their advice, then the codependent might get upset. So that's one indication of codependency. Narcissist abuse, when we're looking at a person that's been in a relationship with a narcissist, then not only is that happening, that is the dynamic of the relationship. The relationship is about the narcissist abuse person taking care of the narcissist, because the narcissist has to have fuel. So as a result, the person struggles with their identity. When I say identity, they struggle with who they are, what they like, what they want, how they feel, everything. So that was one of the number one deciding factors that made me turn. And when I start working with people in relationships with narcissists, we do a lot of work on identity. What is it you want? What is it you feel? What is it you think? And what's so odd about it is the person thinks this is them. They may believe they know what they want, or they believe what they, but that's not the case.
What's your favorite food?
Right, even something to that degree. It could be, what's your favorite food, or what is
and
it
they'll
you...
say, and they'll say what the narcissist likes,
right,
or what the narcissist told them that they liked, or something like that. Okay,
and they're like, I never thought about it. Sometimes a person can be in a friendship with someone for a long time. A person could be in a friendship with a narcissist for a long time, and then when they start exploring themselves, they start thinking, wait a minute, what am I really getting out of this relationship? This is not reciprocal. And they never even thought about that, because they went in this automatic way of showing up, and they never thought about, I never heard, I'm sorry. They just never took a moment and just stopped and thought about how they might be benefiting and if they're being supported in this relationship. And this could be a work relationship, it could be a romantic relationship, it could be a marriage, it could be a parent-child relationship, it could be a sibling friendship. It's across the board.
Could be anybody. Okay. I'm curious more to delve into the identity piece. You know, how is it that you lose your identity how does that go? Because I'm sure at the beginning you know who you are, and then you meet the narcissist and you get into whatever relationship with them, and then, you know, at some point in time you've lost knowing who you are. So how does that happen?
Well, you may know who you are.
Okay,
because
all right.
something was probably going on when that you found yourself in a relationship with a narcissist.
Okay,
and the odds are there was another narcissist somewhere in your life, be it growing up, or be it the previous relationship, or the previous boss, or the previous friend, or so there was another one. However, we end up, it starts a little bit at a time. At the very beginning of a relationship, the narcissist does what we call love bombing. Or hoovering type of behavior. Love bombing is familiar with some people in some circles. And what that means is that person is going to be perfect. They are going to mirror you. Remember at the beginning I said there's a false self. There's a false self. So when they meet someone that there is no self, what they're going to do is find out what you like to do, well, how do you feel, what makes you tick. They are plotting, remember? So they need to know what maneuvers to take, what manipulation strategies what moves to make in order to get fuel from you, in order to get you to behave how they want you to behave. In order to exert power and control, they need to know you. And so they're going to be really deep into your world. And they're going to, and when you find yourself, if you meet somebody, if you're dating, and you say, they're perfect. Oh my God, this person is perfect. And you might say, you know, you're talking to the person, you're like, you know, I really like horses. And they go, oh my God, you like horses? Oh my God, I love horses. Just the other day, and they will have this story about the horses. Oh, you like this? Oh, I love that. Oh, you like learning? Oh, I love learning. What kind of books have you read? And they're going to just get more and more, and they're going to be this perfect person. And a little bit by little bit, it starts a little bit, they start invalidating you. They start not answering the phone, for example. They were texting you and texting you and texting you and now all of a sudden, it may be all of a sudden, or it may be gradually, you're not getting the text or you're not getting the response. You notice a little bit more silence on the phone. You're beginning to notice a little change of topics, and it starts happening over and over and over. And before you know it, they're full blown. I look at you, you're just, they go into what we call the devaluation stage.
So let's go with like the learning thing. Let's say a person really liked to learn.
Yes.
And then say, oh yeah, I've read that book, or here's another book that's really great that I read also that you should read. And so it sounds like, oh, we have a lot of things in common. Then how does that turn into this devaluation? How do they...
Well, it's not true.
Well, yeah. Okay, right. Okay,
so they're not going to be able to put it up for very long. So the very thing that they said they just admire about you is the very thing that they start criticizing you on.
Oh, so it's like, why are you always reading?
Okay. So it may show up as, you mean you need to go to another event? You're reading another book? Or, you know, or they just start critiquing and giving you negative feedback about something you've learned, or, you know, they're just not supportive. That's where the lack of empathy, they're not supportive of it. So it will, the very thing, and if you have been a narcissistic abuse survivor, if you are one, or if you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So when I'm working with narcissists, or when I'm in my group, and I have a group for women narcissistic survivors, many times I don't have to do a lot of education on what narcissistic abuse look like.
They know
exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay. Yes. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. Okay. So you said they start off with the love bombing, and then they start devaluing you. They decrease communication. It becomes inconsistent, and that kind of. So that's the slippery slope.
We call that the devaluation stage. So it starts off with targeting. They target to see if you are. Here's the path of the relationship. The person will target you. This is the plotting to see, is this a candidate? Well, I have to put forth a whole lot of work before I reach the devaluation stage. And what's shocking is some people, they're like, do people really do that? Yeah. It takes a while to get your head around. I mean, if you're the kind of person that is very empathetic, very loving, care about what other people think, you don't want to hurt anybody, you want to be fair, if you're that type of person, you might have trouble getting your head around that a person does this. So they pick certain people, they will target a person where they don't have to put forth a whole lot of work. They don't have to remain in the false self of it for a very long time, because they can't pull that off for a very long time. So they're going to target the person, and the next stage is they're going to love bomb them. That's where they're mirroring, and they're going to be the perfect person. Couldn't be any perfect.
So they win you over.
They're going to win you over. Once they've won you over, the devaluation stage is going to start, and that's what I call Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde stage. So the devaluation is going to start. It's going to devalue, and then the next stage is what we call the discord. Narcissistic discord, D-I-S-C-O-R-D. And what that means is they leave, or they do something and you leave, and then if you leave, finally you're like, I'm fed up with this, I'm tired of this, and this is that on-off relationship. Now we're off, and now here they come, hovering. Here comes another
love bomb. A love bomb.
They go into the love bombing again. Yes.
Okay.
And because they got to have the power and control, the narcissist really wants to be the one to do the discard. And there is generally a discard somewhere. They're never permanently, they're not permanent, but there is a discard. The come, go, hot, cold, nice me, nice me, nice me, nice me. There's this abuse cycle that takes place. And this is very, and then when you go back, they go back to the mean cycle.
So they reach out, you end the relationship.
Yeah.
There's a discord.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, then they'll reach out to you. They'll love bomb you again. You get all excited about it. And then that devaluation starts again. And then, you're back to whatever happening, and there's the discord.
And that cycle is very, very addictive. That nice mean cycle is very addictive. The way our brains are wired, there's a lot of activity in our brains when we're going through intensity, on, off. There's intensity there, and because of that, there's a biological/neurological component to this. And because of that, that makes it so hard to step outside of the cycle. That what we call a trauma bond is formed, and we feel stuck. No matter how hard it is, no matter how bad we feel, no matter how destructive or hurtful we feel, no matter how mean things get, it doesn't matter. We feel stuck. On the outside, a person might say, well, why don't you do this? Well, you're the one, for example, let's say, you're the one with the money. You're the one that's controlling. Why don't you just leave? No. There's a trauma bond that's formed, which is a deeper bond. It's almost like a parent-child type of bond relationship.
Wow.
An attachment forms that's like glue. And so that's one of the reasons why I have this series of videos on attachment and attachment styles. So it's important to know how we attach to people, because if you have been impacted by narcissism, chances are you get like that when you get in a relationship, and you might get blinded to some indicators or signals of narcissism.
Maybe we'll have another video in the future talking about the attachment styles to help people understand more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so help me, so you're saying that nice mean, that has an addictive...
That's addictive.
It's addictive. How can you be addicted to someone being mean to you? Or is it the mean nice, or being nice? You like it when people are nice to you.
We don't want somebody to be. And so, there's
how's that work?
It's the biology of attachment, which is unconscious, and none of us have any control of that because it's unconscious. It's biology. We are wired to attach to people. We are social beings. From before birth, we start bonding and attaching. And so when we came out into the world, we felt a certain way, and we began to bond and attach, ideally with our parents first. And so we start attaching to people, and we start making meaning. That part of the brain, it's unconscious, that determines, is this safe? Is this comfortable? I need feeding, I need food, I need sleep, I'm uncomfortable, I'm hurting. We don't have to learn to let people know that we need those things as a newborn baby. So that mechanism in the brain, when you were born and you learn to attach to a person, you learn that the world is a safe place to be. So if, for example, let's say a little baby is in the crib, and the baby is uncomfortable and hurting. The baby knows to cry and let
you don't
someone
have to teach
know
that.
it's hungry, it needs changing, or it's hurting. Now the question is, will it get relief? Will it get attention? Will it get nurtured? So if it does get that, then the baby's going to feel secure in the world. And so as a result, just fast forwarding, this person is going to grow up believing, I am secure and I deserve to have security in my life. I deserve attention. I deserve to get heard. I deserve to get my needs met. This happens unconsciously. Okay. It's unconscious. And so now
and hardwired too.
It's
right?
hardwired.
Okay.
There are actual neural pathways. There are actually neural pathways in the brain. There are memory networks in the brain, physically, all over the body, that determines how we feel, whether or not we feel securely attached in the world or insecurely attached in the world. And when we are insecurely attached in the world, then we're going to draw people into our lives, and we're going to accept some things into our lives that aren't healthy for us because we are not secure. the narcissist is not secure, and typically the people that love them are not secure as well. So now, as an adult, when a person gets into recovery and do work on themselves, they learn to develop secure attachments. That's where some of these community programs like 12-step programs or some of these organizations where people are building relationships, that's why that's so important, is to teach you to develop a secure attachment and how that feels. How does it feel to get heard? How does it feel to get your needs met? How does it feel to speak up and it be okay for you to disagree with someone and resolve issues and remain safe and connected and friends? How does that feel? So mutual reciprocate, mutual relationship, mutual respect, mutual honor, mutual empathy. You learn all of that if you didn't get all of that when you were younger. So now as an adult, if chaos, not being heard, being disrespected, addiction, walking around the house on eggshells, not knowing what to expect, dishonesty, manipulation, lies, if all of that is normal growing up, well, guess what's normal as an adult? So if you look around your life, you will see some of that same type of behavior. And all of that's unconscious until you decide to do something different and make it conscious and start working on it. Does that make sense?
So awareness is really critical. Once
awareness
you start
is the beginning.
That starts changing things. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So so you started talking a little bit about the treatment models, and I've switched this around. So let's check over here really quick to see if there's any questions. Do any of you guys have any questions? You scroll down a little bit. It looks like there's some comments below.
Here, right
yes.
there. Okay.
I think we're okay. Okay. I can't tell. All right. Okay. So we've started talking. I think we're okay.
Okay.
Or here. What is it? Oh, right there. There's a question right there.
Oh, down here.
What is the first thing someone should do to break the cycle and leave the relationship?
Okay. Okay. So in order to start breaking this cycle, the first thing is awareness. Know what it is that you do. Know what it is that you tend to attract in your life. One of the things I have people do is write a list of their different relationships in their lives over the years. Write down the traits and the characteristics of those relationships. Write down even the traits and characteristics of the people. For example, let's say you have a person that says, okay, my current partner lies a lot. My last partner lied a lot. Oh my God, my parent lied a lot as well. So the awareness of your own patterns and your own relationship dynamics is the biggest piece. The other thing is, what is it that you tend to do? What is it you tend to do that draw these in? Learn about the strategies that these people may have used on you and the things that you used as well, because this is two parts. There's a phrase called malignant narcissism, and then on the flip end of that would be malignant empath. So
it takes two to tango, basically.
There is a dance.
Okay.
This person does this and I do that, and they do that and I do that.
So what's an example of a person? What's an example of something that you might be doing that would attract the narcissist to come and dance with you? I guess.
Well, they learn that number one, you have these. It's very, very important to you not to hurt people.
Okay, so they see that you don't like hurting people.
You will avoid conflict. You will avoid upsetting someone at all costs. At all costs. They notice that you're not speaking up for yourself, or they notice that you're letting things slide on a regular basis. And so those are some of the things you start looking at and say, do I speak up for myself? Am I allowing this to happen? Now, some people on the outside, because they are talkative and they may be loud, they may feel like they speak up for themselves. But at the end of the day, do you give in? At the end of the day, are you holding on to who you really are, what you want, what you think, and demanding that? Are you willing to walk away from certain situations that can be ending a relationship, or that could be simply not engaging and learning how, okay, I'm not going to leave this person. It doesn't always have to be about leaving, but how can you survive in the midst of the hurricane? So the first thing you do is you learn about your history, learn about your patterns in your relationships, learn about your relationship, yourself, and how you contribute to not showing up for yourself. Because if you're not speaking up and taking care of yourself, then you're not showing up for yourself. And if you don't show up for yourself, you're not demanding that people around you show up for you either, because that is something that people are going to do based on how we react and how we behave. We teach people how to treat us. So does that answer the question?
I think it does. I saw another question there that was, do narcissists know that they're narcissists?
Do narcissists know that they're a narcissist?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
I'm gonna move this over here. Okay,
now, of course, you might not be the best person to tell them.
They know that they're narcissists.
They know, when it comes to these behaviors that I've mentioned, they know that they do those. Now, if you come right out and say, I think you're a narcissist. Now, earlier at the beginning, I talked about 3 levels of narcissists. I talked about a master narcissist, a medium or moderate narcissist, and a lower level narcissist, or what does he call? A lesser narcissist. So the one at the top is very aware and insightful, the master level, the one that meets the criteria that I talked about, the diagnostic criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. That one is, they know, matter of fact, if you bring up to them, did you think you're a narcissist? I think you might, they might say, probably.
On those high level
The high ones. Here's an example.
So, okay.
I want to give a funny example.
Okay.
When I was in class, I was in grad school, and I was doing a report on narcissistic personality disorder. And there was a guy in class, and I thought, I was a person, I said, I'll bet, I wonder if he's willing, because I think he is one, since I was learning.
Oh, okay.
So I thought, I wonder if he's willing to help me with my little presentation here to the class. So I thought, okay, how am I going to ask him? I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how I was going to approach him to help me with a narcissistic personality presentation. And then I thought, so then when I saw him in class, I said, do you think you're a narcissist? And he said, probably.
So it didn't.
I was shocked.
He didn't deny it. He wasn't even insulted by it.
No,
he was just like,
he said probably. He said, if any, I probably meet the traits. I said, well, I'm doing this presentation. Are you willing to talk to the class as a narcissist? Are you willing to just talk? And he said, sure.
Oh, well, that would give him all that attention.
He gets fuel from. So he said, what do you want me to talk about? I said, anything. And so he did that, and all I remember is I thought it was a home run. Of course, I got an A+ on it.
Good job.
And he was amazing. He represented well. And so, so every once in a while, I do hear about people that admit to being one, and even saying, I might need to look at that. There is a pioneer in the field, Sam Vatkin. He is a master narcissist. He is has narcissistic personality disorder. He's been in treatment. He's written books. He has a huge following. And so one of the things that he mentions is that the master narcissist they're proud of it.
They're proud of being a narcissist.
They're proud of it.
So they're proud of being controlling and power and always taking over and always seeking attention, and they're proud of it.
Yeah. It's like there is a superiority complex. They believe that they are superior in any setting, no matter which human being, any type of narcissist at any level believes that they are superior, and everyone else is mere inferior to them. And people are objects, so they are superior to people. And so when you say, "Are you a narcissist?" or "You think you're a narcissist?" and they stick their chest out, because that makes them unique. And uniqueness is their thing. And so the mid-range, the moderate one, or the medium one might be aware. They're fairly highly functioning as well, that they are narcissists, but they may not want to address the label. They may not want to identify with the label, but they certainly might identify with some of the behaviors. The other one, the lower one, well, absolutely not. And they may get in trouble legally. They tend to be very emotionally out of control. They can't control their emotions as well as the medium one and the higher level one, the greater level one. So the lower level one is usually very impulsive and compulsive and reactive. So they may turn around and use their narcissistic skills and their narcissistic strategies to make you feel bad for even calling them anything other than wonderful and superior and king. So.
Okay, all right. All right, so it looks like I see a couple of different things. It looks like there's, don't try to get them into treatments.
Yes, yes.
That's what Cheryl said.
Yeah, yes, right. Well, the thing is, they will connect with people. They will form relationships with people that are more like what I call an empath, that are very empathetic. Not just empathetic, but empathy is that person's whole existence. Yes. And so they will get people that are very positive, look at things from the positive standpoint. Earlier I mentioned malignant empathy. They will connect with people that are very, very forgiving. And they're always looking on the bright side. So if someone says or does something, if the narcissist says or does something that's hurtful, the empath, or this person that's so empathetic, can see the bright side, and they can excuse them, and they will
forgive them.
And matter of fact, an empath will often ask the question, can they get into treatment, and do they know what it is that they're doing? Because what an empath wants to know is this person really doing this to me intentionally? Are they trying to hurt me?
So are they really doing that intentionally?
Well, they're not as concerned about what they do to people in as much as it's more of an instinct reaction. They're not saying, I want to hurt you. It's more of an instinct. For example, if you have a person riding on a bike on a mountain and the lion jumps on them and mauls them, was that lion intending to hurt them? It was instinctual survival. It's instinct. So the narcissist does these things out of a survival mode. It's from that same place that says, I need to do this to live. This is what I need to do to live. They do not have a self. They have a false self. There's like a mask in their presentation. So they are not doing things to hurt you. So it's kind of like a catch-22. They're not doing things to hurt you. They know these things hurt you. But empathy isn't there, so they're not feeling really bad. That's the one thing, they're not feeling really remorseful or bad about hurting you. What they do feel bad when they do show emotions, which is the moderate and the lower level might show emotions. The emotions they show when, let's say, they may cry, it's not because they hurt you. And that's really bad news for some people. It's not because they hurt you.
Why are they crying?
They're crying because they're not living up to their own expectations of being superior. They have these expectations. And so if you are being critical, you're a communicator. If you're hurt and you're crying, it's all interpreted as criticism. It's criticism. You're telling me I'm not all of that.
Because you hurt me. Yeah, you hurt me, you're bad.
Yeah, if you say, exactly, if you say, you know, the other day you yelled at me, you screamed, and you threw that thing, and it almost hit me in the head, and it hit the wall, and I'm really scared, I'm sad, and I'm hurt about it. I'm really hurt about that. Well, the person might, they may, I don't know, they may not respond. They may just look at you, or they may call you too sensitive to whatever. Or they may say, oh, I wasn't meaning to, if they're really skilled, the moderates are like that, I wasn't meaning to hurt you, I didn't mean that, I didn't mean, and then if you go on and on and on and on, they may even start crying, but they're crying because you're letting them know they were not perfect and they are not living up to their expectations. Fast forward, it happens again.
Right.
And then it happens again.
So does that mean that treatment doesn't work for them, or is that why, or they don't want to go into treatment? Why? Does treatment work? Is that something you want to try to get them into that?
Treatment is not going to help them with empathy. What they learn to do in treatment, if there are very few that will, and it has to be their own choice, treatment will only show them how to change their behavior. How to not go around and upset people. That's what treatment would do. Treatment is not going to help. empathy part would have started when they were that big. Learning how to develop empathy and mirror people and feel sad for when someone is hurting and feel guilty for hurting someone. That started when that's developed when they're really little. As an adult, we don't teach empathy. If it's a narcissist, they learn to mimic it. So they learn that, okay, she says she's hurt. Let me nod my head. Okay, she says she hurt. Let me respond. I can see you're hurt. I could see her. Now, if you're a narcissist victim, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, at minimum, they didn't interrupt you, and they didn't call your name, and they didn't put you down when you told them that you were hurt.
And that's the best it gets.
The best they could do is stop upsetting folk. And that's what I'll tell them. I say, stop going around and upsetting folks. Stop, being argumentative. Just learn to zip it. Just learn to close it. But as far as feeling, oh my God, I'm so crushed that I hurt you. That is really not happening. And how do we know? Because the behavior that you brought up isn't changing. It's not changing. So
they can't really, they're still going to maul you over because it's an instinct for them.
They're still going to maul you over because it's instinct. It's like an animalistic instinct. As a matter of fact, some pioneers in this field refer to it as a reptilian type of behavior.
Okay, so it's almost like it's, I want to say hardwired in, but it's kind of like it wasn't, empathy wasn't hardwired when it could have been hardwired. Right. And then now as an adult, it's sort of too late. The best they can do is just try not to upset you further. Right. But they're still going to do the same thing over and over because they don't know. Mm-hmm. They're out of touch, or they're disconnected from that ability or from that understanding that, that's just not nice.
Right.
You can't teach a lion not to bite you or something like that. Okay.
And the most that you can do is protect yourself. And so you learn strategies when you get into your own recovery, and you learn strategies on how to be treated. If you said, okay, next time you do this, I'm going to do that. Next time you do this, I'm going to do that. And you need to do it.
Okay. So it sounds like boundaries, learning boundaries.
But
we may have to do one on that one too.
Yes, you'll have to learn boundaries, and you also have to learn to speak up for yourself, say whatever it is you need, and pull out. There's a strategy that I teach in some of my workshops and in my book about gray rock. And basically what that means is you are like this. This is the number one strategy I can leave with you all is gray rock. Look it up. Gray rock. I'm going to do a video on gray rock.
We'll do that.
Boring. We're not trying to connect. We're not trying to develop empathy and closeness and things like that. We're there and no emotions. We're flat, and we learn to coexist in the relationship, however that looks.
Now, there was one other question. We'll definitely be doing a video on boundaries. It looks like there's one need for that. The other thing I saw on here, and I'm not sure how to scroll down, I saw, can narcissists coexist? Can two narcissists coexist?
Can two narcissists coexist? Usually one of them will be a stronger narcissist than the other one. Okay. One will be stronger than the other one. So one will move more closer into being a narcissistic abuse survivor than the other one.
Okay.
They don't tend to, that narcissist need fuel. So it's going to be, if you have two narcissists together, there might be a chaotic relationship. There might be a lot of dissension and arguments and disagreements and things like that. If they both try to get recovery, if they both try to get help, they both can learn to, again, stop upsetting each other. Okay. However, as far as that deep, mutual, intimate connection, that's not going to happen with the narcissist.
Okay. Well, that is about up. It's about a minute before 1 o'clock. So thank you all for tuning in and asking your questions. And I really hope that this helped clear up give you some understanding about what narcissism is and isn't, and narcissistic abuse and survival, and a little bit about recovery, some recovery methods, yes, and that kind of stuff. If you are interested in working with Dee, and you identified with this in any way, and you would like to work with her, you can definitely contact her on her website.
My website, www.thecounselingservice.com, and we will put it at the bottom of this video as well.
Yes.
I mentioned I have a YouTube channel called Mindfulness Abundance. You could do a search just on my name, D. Gardner, and you can look at some of my videos, as well as I have a Facebook group that I just started on Facebook for narcissistic survivors. So you can join the group as well on Facebook,
So
Gardner Counseling Services.
All of these different things that you can do if you want to get more of that. And if you're interested in also building your sense of identity and rebuilding that confidence that may have eroded in this type of relationship, that confidence, that sense of self-identity, and working on it from a subconscious level, feel free to contact me and set up some hypnosis sessions. You can instant message me here, and I also have a website, and that is claudiaautry.com. All right, talk to you soon, and I'll be letting you know for our next videos on looks like boundaries is one of them, and attachment style. Talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Until next time.